The ability for you to get things done is your superpower, but you're also running on overdrive. Let's be real, right? Like if everything's a priority, then nothing's a priority. Motivation, my friends, is not a resource that you want to rely on. It is finite. It is not dependable. That is not how you get things done. I know I'm touching on some like pretty deep things here now already, but you're probably starting to see how your archetype is also deeply connected to some other behaviors and patterns. But the best way to find out which one you are, how much more could you achieve if you knew what was standing in the way of your productivity? In today's episode, you're going to learn about the 4 achievement archetypes, which one you are, and how to leverage your superpowers so that you can become more effective, get more done in less time, and also be on the lookout for potential self-sabotaging behaviors. Let's dive in. Welcome to Resonance, the podcast for high performers and entrepreneurs who want to do life, work, and success differently. I am your host, Viktoria Levenberg, and I'm obsessed with efficiency, productivity, and planning in a way that harnesses your energy and your natural rhythms while keeping you in alignment and integrity. Because I have figured out that lasting success is not about the hustle. It is about being in resonance. Let's begin. Welcome. Okay, so this episode is the first episode that I have recorded since my big breakthrough moment and announcing the pivot, the change in direction, moving towards really helping you get more done in less time. And by the time this episode airs, we are going to be approaching the autumn equinox. The energy is going to begin to wane slightly here in the Southern Hemisphere. People are going to start to go inwards a little bit and very soon learn a little bit more about what that means for you, your energy, your productivity, and how to, kind of adjust your lifestyle and work around that. And at the same time, my friends in the Northern Hemisphere, I see you. You're going to be seeing quite the opposite, right? Like you're going to be approaching the spring equinox. All of a sudden, the flowers are going to start to bloom. The days are going to get longer. You're going to have more energy. You're going to have that pep in your step to start new things and initiate. And it's just so exciting. And speaking of starting new things, I am going to be opening doors to my brand new program next week. Now, if you're not on the priority waitlist yet, I honestly don't know what you're waiting for. Like, this will teach you everything that you need to know to get more done in less time while having more energy. I'm not kidding. Like, stop everything you're doing now. Get your Patuki on that list. If you're driving, pull over, get on there right now. I kid you not. It's first come, first served. And I really want Q Spice Girls to make sure that you are in so that I can help you achieve your biggest goals while also enjoying yourself while you're at it and having time for other things that truly bring you joy. Like, it is the biggest privilege to be doing this. So get your Patuki on that list. All right. So what are we actually going to be talking about today? You've got big dreams, right? Otherwise you wouldn't be here. Let's be real. Like attracts like. I'm a big dreamer. I'm a high achiever. I'm a high performer. I love success. I'm like, yes, love growth. So if you're listening to this, you likely resonate with some of that. And you have also developed some strategies to get closer to those dreams. But without knowing it, there is a part of you that might be sabotaging some of those same dreams. So by the end of today's episode, you'll be able to clearly identify the 4 achievement archetypes so that you can avoid being blindsided by your self-sabotaging behaviors that may be standing in the way of you and your success. And you can also leverage your superpowers to work to your advantage. Let's dive in. First things first. What is an archetype? An archetype is a universal pattern, symbol, or character that is like a blueprint for things we have in common, right? So some common archetypes are like the hero or the mother or the sage, right? The wizard, the trickster. And this roots all the way back to Carl Jung and psychology. And his perspective is that we all have different degrees of archetypes within us, and we resonate with some more than others. And they're part of like our collective unconscious. And so in our case today, we're going to distill the 4 achievement archetypes, which are the achiever, the thinker, the giver, and the initiator. And we're going to begin to help you see which one you are. Now, I know you might be thinking, oh, I don't want to be put in a box, and maybe all of these apply to me. I see myself in everything. And look, that is true. You will likely see yourself in quite a few of these. Some maybe more than others. And no, we are not putting you in a box. This is simply a way for you to help begin to see patterns and start to focus your attention on what priorities you need to address in terms of some of your behaviors and traits. And let's be real, right? Like if everything's a priority, then nothing's a priority. My recommendation to you is listen to this episode. And then if you want to be really sure of your results, I just recommend taking the quiz that I developed specifically to accompany this episode. It is linked up in the show notes below. But first, let's unpack these archetypes. So let's start with the achiever. Now, our achiever is wired for results, right? They get things done, maximum productivity, beast mode, you don't know how, but you know you're going to get it done. You always pull through. You always have a trick in your magic hat or something, right? You see, this is amazing. Like that is the ability for you to get things done is your superpower, but you're also running on overdrive. So the achiever tends to be able to tap into that beast mode that's needed, but then they stay stuck and they tend to power through and running on urgency and adrenaline and they work hard, and then they tend to crash hard as well. So that's our achiever, wired for results, but running on overdrive. Next up, we've got the thinker. The thinker is deeply thoughtful, right? As the name suggests. They're analyzing and planning and strategizing, and often that also tends to manifest itself as planning and replanning and second guessing their decisions. So a thinker would be stuck in that thinking loop. Like they're constantly in their head, perhaps mentally overloaded. They might be that person who stays up at night just thinking of all the possible scenarios and not able to let them go, and often feel quite anxious and scattered because of that pattern. So that is our second archetype, the thinker. Deeply thoughtful, but stuck in the thinking loop. Next up, we've got the giver. Oh, the giver. Everyone's rock. So reliable. You can lean on them. If they say they'll do something, they will do it. They are, that person that everyone thinks so highly of. They've always got your back. They're always there for you. You ask them to do something and they've already anticipated it before you even thought about it. They're the person that you're like, just so grateful to have in your life. They're incredible. Givers are so magical. The problem is that givers tend to run on empty. They tend to be the person who is overcommitted. They've said too many yeses without considering that every yes is also a no. And they're that person, if we think about the airplane, they're putting everyone else's mask on first before themselves. And unfortunately, they have a hard time considering their own needs, let alone putting them first. Like, let's not even go there, right? So they often are quite spent and flat from giving so much, and they're just pouring from empty. If you've been around for a while, you would hear me using that metaphor of your energy cup, or where you're pouring from, and you need to make sure that your cup is full so that you're not pouring from empty. The giver, unfortunately, has a really hard time filling up their cup. They often find themselves pouring from empty. So that is the giver archetype. Everyone's rock, but running on empty. And lastly, we have got the initiator. Oh, have I got a few initiators in my life. Initiators are amazing. They have the vision. They have the ideas. They have the motivation, the energy. They're really inspiring. They're visionaries. They're so amazing to have around you because they see what's possible before most people even can. A lot of entrepreneurs tend to be an initiator as well, by the way. the challenge for the initiator archetype is that they're lacking the structure to match their vision. So often they lack the focus. They're the kind of person that will start something and then either kind of get bored and stop, or they might even just lose track of where they're going and get carried away with like little side projects and creativity endeavors and all that sort of stuff. So it's really challenging for the initiator once they stop. Let's say they get overwhelmed, they crash, whatever happens, right? It's really hard for them to restart because they've lost that momentum and they rely on motivation so much that when it's not there, they just cannot do the thing. And motivation, my friends, is not a resource that you want to rely on. It is finite. It is not dependable. That is not how you get things done. So yeah, the initiator unfortunately tends to be a little bit inconsistent and unpredictable. So that is our initiator. They've got the vision, but not the structure to match it. Now, if you, like me, are a bit of a personality nerd, and it's okay if this is all going to wash over your head as well, like I'm just trying to match this to something that you might already be familiar with. So if you have ever done like a MBTI test, the Myers-Briggs type indicator, or the DISC assessment, or you're familiar with the 4 personality types, right? Like type A, B, C, D. Here's how they correlate. And I say correlate, again, not to put you in a box. Like you might actually be scattered across a handful, but this could help you start to see how they come together. So for our achiever archetype tends to be your type A personality trait, right? These in Myers-Briggs terms tend to be the diplomats. In terms of the DISC assessment, it's the Ds, the green people. So if any of that means anything to you, this is going to be quite helpful to start to draw the connections. Whereas the thinker is our type C personality trait. So those are our analysts in terms of the MBTI test, and in terms of the DISC assessment, they tend to be the yellow, the C types. And the giver, of course, is our type D, right? Just like super supportive and nurturing. Those tend to be our sentinels in the MBTI. And of course, also the blue in the DISC. So you can see how there's like quite a common red thread across all these different personality, or I guess different ways to look at personality. And then lastly, we've got the initiator, which tends to strongly associate with the type B personality type, our explorers when we talk about the MBTI, or the red people in the DISC assessment. So look, if all of this has just gone over your head, honestly, trust me on this, the easiest way will be just for you to take the quiz. But first, let me tell you what the archetype superpowers and their Achilles heels are. So, the achiever. Oh, the achiever. I mean, you are disciplined beyond measure, right? The achiever will get things done. So discipline is their superpower. They can leverage that. They know they are reliable. They know when they say something, they're going to do it. Their challenge, their Achilles heel is the hustle, because that hustle is not sustainable. And let me tell you something, if that hustle doesn't get addressed, slowly over time, that's what then manifests the chronic stress, the burnout, which the achiever will never admit, by the way. So they'll just keep hustling. Like, unfortunately, our type A, achievers are often the most susceptible to burnout because they don't see it coming until it's already too late, until they've already crashed. So that's our achievers. For our thinkers, their superpower is planning. Oh my gosh, they've got all the calendars and all the planners and all the spreadsheets. They are so good at it. Like planning, structures, systems, just like is their jam. Their Achilles heel is action. So like the thinker is the person that loves the planning process. Like that's where they get their juices from. But then when it actually comes to doing the doing, they really struggle with that. And I can really resonate with that because I have a lot of the thinker in me. However, I have found ways and strategies to also move into action. So this is the awesome thing. Once you kind of live and breathe this work, you really find the delicate balance between the two, because it's all a balance, right? We've got to balance our strengths and also shield ourselves and use our Achilles heels to our advantage. So that was the thinker. For the giver, their superpower is their reliability. So honestly, like that is going to ripple out so strongly into their relationships, the people that they attract into their life, the quality of relationships they have, and their reputation as well. Like obviously the giver is already so highly thought of because they give so much, but their challenge, their Achilles heel is boundaries. Unfortunately, the giver's got real bad leaky boundary bucket. They have a hard time saying no. They really tend to have people-pleasing tendencies. And in fact, and I'm going to kind of just a little bit nerd out on the nervous system here, people-pleasing tendencies are part of the F response, which is fawn in the nervous system. So it is a nervous system response. So there's quite a bit to unpack there. Givers often tend to be people who tend to gravitate toward that response. They unfortunately tend to be people who have had their boundaries violated in the past, which is why they're giving so much, so that they're seeking some kind of validation from all the giving that they're doing. And they're also tend to be people who grew up in authoritarian societies where that's like how the society was structured, right? You do what you're told and serve and put yourself last. Don't even think about your needs. So that's just something to be aware of. This, I know I'm touching on some like pretty deep things here now already, but you're probably starting to see how your archetype is also deeply connected to some other behaviors and patterns. And look, we dive into all this much deeper inside my program, but that's kind of already going to start to spark some thoughts for you. Then we've got the initiator. All right. So for the initiator, their superpower is inspiration. Like this person is not short of ideas. And, you know, they've got $1 million ideas left, right, and center. They're like, want to start a business. And then they've got this new product thing and they want to create an app. And then they want to do this. And they're just so bursting of energy and motivation and ideas. But their Achilles heel is the consistency and follow through on the ideas. You see, they tend to get so overwhelmed with all the things they want to do that they start all these little micro projects and they don't finish any of them. And again, I do have quite a strong initiator archetype in me, which again, I have learned to master. However, a really powerful metaphor that my business coach and mentor, James Wedmore, taught me that like led to this massive eye-opener breakthrough moment for me was this metaphor of the islands and the bridge. And I'm going to share it with you now because my initiators might begin to understand this a little bit as well. So, you know, you're, as the initiator, you're kind of on your current island of where you're at right now. And then there's this other island that's like really far away. That's where you want to get to. And what you're doing is you've got all these ideas, right? All these different projects, all these things that you're trying to achieve that you're beginning, you're initiating, you're building. And so you're building all these separate little bridges, but you never finish any of them. So you never actually get one bridge from point A to point B to completion. So you never actually achieve the island. You never reach the island because you're constantly just starting new bridges. And there's got to focus on one bridge at a time. But anyways, again, lots more to say on that inside my program. For now, that's the initiator. Those are the 4 archetypes and their strengths and their Achilles heels. Now, you might be thinking, damn it, Vic, I see myself in all 4. What do I do? Yeah, you're right. That's exactly what archetypes are. We will see a sliver of us in every single one of them. That's the whole point. However, just know that it's a spectrum, right? So while we will embody certain elements of different archetypes, you will likely perhaps over-index to one versus another in some areas of your life, like say maybe in your personal life versus business, but then you'll also tend to gravitate more naturally towards one or two more than the other. There's also a deeper layer to this as to like the masks you wear and what you've conditioned yourself to do versus your natural state. But again, this is all kind of getting very advanced. So I just want to meet you where you are and give you this foundational framework first, so that as you move through the rest of your week, both in your work and personal life, you can already begin to draw the connection points as to, okay, which archetype am I? What am I doing? What would that fall under? What could that Achilles heel be? How can I leverage that superpower, right? So it's already helping you leverage this information to become more productive, more effective, and get more done in less time. But the best way to find out which one you are, just take my free 4 Achievement Archetypes quiz, my friends. The link is in the show notes below. Honestly, it is so much fun. I had so much fun building this. I hope you'll have just as much fun walking through it. And make sure you stick around all the way to the end and put in your email into the quiz, because I will email you your next right action step that is like the smallest doable thing that will address your archetype strengths and Achilles heels in a way to already show you that a different way of operating is possible. So I'm all about the small wins, my friends. So make sure you take the quiz today. Thank you so much for being here. I am so excited for this new chapter. I'm so grateful for you all. Have a fabulous rest of your week. Bye for now. I get asked by high-performing women and entrepreneurs how to get more done in less time all the time. And that is because I have been able to master productivity, efficiency, and planning myself. I am known both in my professional and personal life as the productivity queen. And for the very first time ever, I'm going to be teaching a small, select group of students how to use cyclical alignment, energy management, and high performance structures so that you can finally have a personal operating system that makes progress towards your big goals feel inevitable and easy. Imagine getting more done in less time. Imagine structure and consistency in your life. And imagine knowing how to work with your body to optimize your productivity. That is all much closer than you think. So if you are done constantly pushing through exhaustion, feeling tired but wired, and you would like to be part of this special training, make sure to join the priority waitlist today. The link is in the show notes below and at viktorialevenberg.com/success. I'll see you there. The views and opinions expressed by guests on Resonance are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views of me, Viktoria Levenberg, Live in Health, or anyone working within the Live in Health brand. This space welcomes a diversity of ideas, experiences, and stories, and part of Resonance is learning to take what aligns and gently leaving the rest. Also, while I am a national board-certified health and wellness coach and deeply passionate about well-being, this podcast is intended for educational and inspirational purposes only. Resonance does not substitute personalized medical, psychological, or therapeutic advice. Always seek guidance from qualified professionals for any physical, emotional, or mental health concerns.